Rajan samshritya samvadam imam adbhutam Keshavarjunayoh punyam Shyamicha muhurmuhu. The illustrious Sanjaya is pouring his heart out. Towards the end of Gita, it is Sanjaya who is given the opportunity for the final word. So typically, the concluding part of any text is so very significant. It is the concluding part which gives us the lasting impression of any text. And many a times, the concluding part, the last word is given to the protagonist. Krishna decides to give that privilege to Sanjaya. Krishna gives Sanjaya that unique opportunity to conclude the Gita. And from last week, we have been relishing how Sanjaya not only counts his blessings, but he also makes his blessings count. Sanjaya is a very supreme example for us as to how we can not only listen, assimilate the message of Krishna, but also internalize and manifest that into actions that are aligned towards our ultimate goal. If the ultimate goal is attainment of Krishna, then everything that we do has to be founded on the chief recommendation in the Gita, which is constant remembrance of Krishna. If our ultimate goal is moksha, whatever action we do, whatever stage of life we are in, we need to necessarily do those actions on the foundation of remembrance of Krishna. Any action which is not founded on that principle of constant contemplation, remembrance of Krishna, cannot be a fruitful action that will take us closer to the attainment of our goal. So Sanjaya demonstrates that towards the end of the Gita. And Sanjaya is such a great bhakta that he, for all our sake, he also captures the last and most important message of the Gita, the take-home message that we say, right? After 700, almost 700 verses of the Gita, what is the take-home message? It's a very simple message. Very, very simple message. One word message. Remembrance. Remembrance. Because if we don't remember Krishna, we are remembering something else. The more we think of the world, the more immersed we are in this world and the more attached we are to this world, the more difficult for us to get liberated. That is the reason why that one magic word of remembrance, Sanjaya demonstrates to us towards the end of the Gita. And it is not just ordinary remembrance. Remembrance which fills our heart with love. Remembrance that is an outpouring of our love, our innate love for Krishna. Rajan samshritya samshritya. Here, Sanjaya once again teaches us a very important lesson for remembrance. We all have this complaint. We don't remember things easily. No, we remember all the wrong things. But when it comes to remembering the most important things, somehow we seem to struggle. How come what I heard during 4th chapter seems to have completely vanished? After 18 chapters of the Gita, no, I shouldn't say 4th chapter, the 4th shloka of the 18th chapter seemed to have vanished. Or what I heard last week. We are in Shloka 66. What did happen in Shloka 75? I don't remember. All of us are in the same boat when it comes to this. Unfortunately, remembrance, conscious remembrance is not easy. And the only way to cultivate this is recall. Regular recall. We remember what we regularly recall. We remember all the wrong things because we regularly recall all the wrong things. All the thoughts that we are processing every day, majority of those thoughts, the unwanted thoughts, we are processing, and because of which we remember all the wrong things. All the nice things, the good things, we forget to recall. That is the reason why anything good that we hear needs to be, we need to practice the art of recalling constantly. No, this is one thing in the satsang that we try to practice. Recalling glories of Krishna constantly. So Sanjaya here, that's why he says, samshritya samshritya. Repeatedly recalling, remembering again and again and again, whatever the samvada that happened between Krishna and Arjuna. Sanjaya, who has been taking notes, like many of us do, it is very important to take notes, but it is even more important to review the notes taken and recall. Otherwise, we will end up writing hundreds of pages and nicely put them somewhere in one corner. Only when we recall, then we will remember. And I can assure you this. The more we recall, the greater is our remembrance. And Sanjaya teaches that. He says, Samvadam imam adbhutam. No, this adbhuta, towards the end, we get to understand this word adbhuta. Adbhuta. In our life and living, we fail to cultivate this most enriching emotion, the emotion of wonder. We are all chasing happiness and pleasures. And in that process, while we keep chasing this pleasure everywhere, we fail to cultivate this emotion of wonder. Because the pursuit of pleasure, we all realize early or late, the pursuit of pleasure will only lead to pain. Both the pursuit and the attainment. Both the pursuit of pleasure and attainment of pleasure will only lead to pain. In the pursuit of pleasure, there is that emptiness in us because there is a craving for what we don't have. And then once we have what we thought we didn't have, that pleasure also translates into pain because that pleasure also is temporary. What is pleasurable has to become painful. That is the nature of life. So therefore, in that process of chasing worldly pleasures, we fail to cultivate the most important emotion, the emotion of wonder. The beauty of the Gita is it helps us to nurture this all-important emotion of wonder. If there is no wonder, there is no bhakti. If there is no wonder, there is no bhakti. If we cannot wonder, if we cannot go into a state of awe, bhakti will not blossom. And the more mechanical our lives become, the greater the difficulty for us to express bhakti, which is express love for Bhagavan. And if we look at the way the Gita nurtures this emotion of wonder, it helps us to contemplate on three important things throughout the Gita. Firstly, contemplate on the supreme reality of how we are all parts of the divine. No matter how imperfect or flawed we may be. No matter how imperfect or flawed we may be, we are all parts of that supreme divine. This is the ultimate reality. When we start contemplating on this, we start to nurture the emotion of wonder. Second point that Gita helps us to contemplate on the order, the sacred order that exists in creation. No matter how chaotic the world may seem, there is a sacred order. Underlying all apparent chaos, there is a beautiful order. Creation is beautiful because the Creator is beautiful. There is that sacred order and there is a divine plan which is unfolding. We may think things are going haywire. Nothing is going haywire. Everything is unfolding as per the divine plan. No matter how random or chaotic things may seem to be for us. And the third is the contemplation on the realization, the empowering realization that we have all been given the opportunity to play our part in the divine plan, no matter how insignificant we are. We may all be very insignificant. We may be specks of dust in this cosmos. But we all have a unique opportunity given to play a significant part in the divine plan. We are all co-contributors to Krishna. He gives us an opportunity to lead our life as co-contributors. Even though our capabilities are limited, our capacities are limited, Krishna entrusts us with this unique opportunity. That is why human life is so very precious, because we have an opportunity to be co-workers, co-contributors, do His work on His behalf. When we contemplate on this, and we see these three themes throughout the Gita, and when we contemplate on these three things repeatedly, we cultivate that emotion of wonder. We are in awe of Krishna. We are awe. Obviously, there is another important contemplation that also evokes wonder, which is Krishna Himself. The more we contemplate on His divine form, we are in a state of wonder. But through the words of wisdom in the Gita, He enables us to contemplate on these three important points. And that evokes that sense of wonder in us. And Sanjaya here is talking about how to reframe our thoughts. Again, coming to the end of the Gita, we get to see how Sanjaya is also helping us. If we not reframe our thoughts, then we cannot shape our actions, which means we cannot shape our destiny. Sanjaya is talking about how our thoughts can be reframed and every thought can get the Krishna flavor. How we can constantly center all our thoughts around Krishna. Because why? We are defined by our thoughts. We don't realize it. We are defined by our thoughts, and we don't normally analyze our own thoughts. And we don't also find a need to improve the quality of our thinking. If we don't improve our quality of thinking, we cannot improve the quality of our lives. Here Sanjaya is helping us giving us the importance of how we can significantly improve the quality of thinking. Because we are normally thinking the object of our thoughts are the worldly objects, and any encounter with the world can have only three outcomes. Any encounter, our mental encounter with the worldly objects can have only three outcomes. Outcome number one, not attainable. Outcome number two, attainable but not enjoyable. Outcome number three, enjoyable but not retainable. Every engagement with the world can only fall in these three categories, three outcomes. Somebody wanted the position of a very senior person in an organization. For many it was not attainable, but for one, somehow he was blessed, but not attainable. Second, attainable but not enjoyable. It so happened that his boss was a tyrant who made his life a hell. Attainable, not enjoyable. Somebody thankfully also got a good boss, enjoyable but not retainable. Soon he became 60 and he had to retire. Anything and everything that we can think of. Now, only when Krishna becomes the object of our thoughts, when our thinking is centered around Krishna, it is our Krishna connection which is attainable. It is not only attainable, it is enjoyable. It is not only enjoyable, it is retainable. Retainable forever, eternally. Why? Because the object is an eternal object, the all-attractive, supremely beautiful Krishna. So, here Sanjaya is helping us how? By reframing our thoughts and constantly thinking about Krishna, we change the way we shape our lives. That is why he's repeatedly using this word adbhutam. Samvadam imam adbhutam. Keshavarjunayoh punyam, he says. The samvada is not an ordinary samvada. It is not to X and Y, talking to each other. Keshava is talking to Arjuna. Again, it does not say Krishna Arjuna. He especially uses the word Keshava. Keshava. Bhagavan is Keshava. One, because he is so very beautiful. He has lovely locks of hair. That is Keshava. He is also Keshava because he is the origin of Brahma and Shiva. Everything manifests from him. He is also Keshava because he is the grantor of moksha. He is also Keshava because he removes the sorrows of bhaktas. Such is the power of that one Nama Keshava. Okay. So therefore the samvada, therefore he says it's not an ordinary samvada. Keshavarjunayo punyam, he says. Listening to the samvada itself is a purification, process of purification. As the words of the Gita enter us, we also saw how Krishna enters us through his words. Gita is nothing but Krishna's words of love. Gita is Krishna's words of love. We may think Gita, the context of Gita, maybe the setting tells us that Gita is words of instruction, words of advice to Arjuna, which is specifically to address one dilemma that Arjuna faces, to fight or not fight. But then Krishna raises the bar. So through Gita, the content in the Gita transcends the setting of the Gita. The setting of the Gita on the battlefield is essentially to address the dilemma of one person, Arjuna. But Gita is so very universal. All of us become Arjunas because every unique problem that we have, we find a solution. In the process of resolving Arjuna's one dilemma, Krishna transcends the setting and gives solutions to every dilemma that anyone on this planet can ever have in the past, now and in the future. And Krishna's words of love are so very powerful that we cannot avoid falling in love with him, or should I say, rising in love with him. Every time we visit Gita, our love for him only grows, becomes stronger. Sanjaya is deeply in love. We can see that. Sanjaya is so deeply in love with the Gita. Of course, he's in love with Krishna, but he's in love with Gita. So when we fall in love with Gita, we will fall in love with Krishna. Even those who don't love Krishna will fall in love with him when they fall in love with Gita. Because through Gita, we discover Krishna's words of love. How he loves each and every one of us without any discrimination whatsoever. We get to realize how he is so benevolent, so compassionate, all loving. In spite of all our flaws, in spite of all our imperfections, his love for us is equal. How can we not love someone like that? So Sanjaya therefore says, Keshavarjunayor punyam. No, I am so much purified. Rishyamicha muhurmuhu. My delight knows no bound. I am so very delighted. Muhurmuhu. Again and again. Every time I recall any one single message of Krishna, I have horripilations all over and I am on top of the world. I am able to rejoice. No, I do not need any other energy boosters. Krishna's words are my energy boosters. And then he goes on and Sanjaya says, Tatya samshritya rupam atyatputam hare. Sanjaya, he cannot take his eyes off. No, his vision. How blessed Sanjaya was. The conversation between Arjuna and Krishna was meant to be private. There were many things. Krishna even qualifies what he tells. He says, hey Arjuna, this is specifically for you. This is specific. You are the chosen one. Krishna also is Leeladhari. He knows. He keeps telling Arjuna, you are the chosen one. There is already one who is chosen even before him. Arjuna was chosen. Before Arjuna, Sanjaya was already chosen. Another Krishna ensured that. Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa. Before Vasudeva Krishna decided who is the chosen one, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa decided. Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Shakter Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Mande Shukatatam Taponidam Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanidaye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha. So that Vyasa, that Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa chose Sanjaya. And how blessed Sanjaya is. He not only heard the Gita, he saw the Vishwarupa. He was one of those who could get to see that electrifying vision. And not only that, more importantly than the Vishwarupa. No, Arjuna, when the Vishwarupa was revealed, Arjuna did not bargain for many things. And there were facets of Vishwarupa which Arjuna could not stand. And eventually, Arjuna had to surrender, prostrate and say, Kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam ishtam ishtvam drashtumaham tataiva tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena. Sahasrabaho bhava vishwamurtehe vishwamurte tenaiva rupena. I would want, all this is fine. I know I am the chosen one, hey Krishna, but still, I would love to see that glorious form, that Divya Mangala Vigraha of yours. That form which you have reserved for the real chosen ones. While you keep saying, I am the chosen one, you have still not shown me that beautiful form of yours which you have reserved for all the rishis. Kiritinam gadinam chakrahastam drishtamitvam ichchamitvam drashtum ham tataiva. Eneva rupeta. Hey Sahasrabaho, you have shown me all your 1,000 heads, 1,000 arms. This entire universe is your body. That is fine. But I would like to see your natural form. Please reveal the same to me. And when that form, Shanka Chakra Gadapane Dwaraka Nilayachyuta Govinda Pundarikaksha, when Bhagavan revealed that form, not only Arjuna was the chosen one, Sanjaya was also able to see the same vision. No, there is a difference between seeing and the vision. Even during Krishna Avatara, many people saw Krishna. But did they really see Krishna? Unfortunately, not many really saw Krishna. Even today, we see Krishna. We see him, but do we really see him? So some time back, there was a question that our little Adya asked this question. Can we see Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? And I boldly answered, yes, sir. All of us can see him. All of us can see him when we realize real seeing is a combination of perception and comprehension. Really seeing Bhagavan is a combination of perception and comprehension. So we go to the temple and we see. So today we saw that Divya Mangala Vigraha of Ram Lalla. Ram Lalla has already arrived in Dubai. His Padukas came and today, he himself arrived. We've been to Dwaraka, we have been to Badri, we see in the temples, Bhagavan, with all his compassion, reveals himself to us through Archa Vigraha. Sometimes we question, is it really him? Seems to be only, Archa, only a Murti there. This is where we need to understand, seeing is a combination of perception and comprehension. When we see, when we perceive with the comprehension, with the knowledge of who he is, when we know his nature, that becomes the vision. So therefore, Bhagavan can come and stand right in front of us. Can we really see him? We can only see him. And how is this combination made possible? There is a magic concoction that is required to bring this combination of perception, combination of comprehension. That magic concoction is called bhakti. That changes our perception. Therefore, we can relate to him through the form that he reveals to us. Now, Sanjaya, somebody else would have seen and possibly would have completely missed. Somebody else would have seen the same form that Sudurdarsham idam rupam dashtavanasi yanmama deva apyasya. So Krishna is saying even the devas cannot even easily see me. Yes, because sometimes even the devas take Bhagavan for granted. They see him, they only see him. They don't really see him. To see him means, while seeing him also comprehend. So therefore that divine connection happens. Where that sense of awe, bhakti, everything gets evoked and we get to see how that Supreme is revealing himself to us. Sanjaya, therefore, here is sharing that. He says, Tatcha samshritya samshritya. Rupam atyatputam harehe. Krishna earlier says, Naham vedairna tapasa nadanena nachejjaya shakya evam vidodrashtum drishtavanyasi yanmama. Bhaktya ananyaya shakyaha ahamevam vidorjuna jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Jnatum drashtum praveshtum. To know him, see him, attain him. All three are possible. All three are possible. Knowing him, seeing him, attaining him in sequence. All three are possible, and all three, that is bringing this combination of perception and comprehension all together. The Mamsa Chakshusha transforms into Divya Chakshusha, transforms into Jnana Chakshusha, immediately transforms into finally that supreme. We don't know what the word is. When we get the moksha, we have another kind of eyes where we can actually see Bhagavan, Vaikuntha. So all through this, that Jnatum, Drashtum, Praveshtum, attainment of Bhagavan, all three. And Sanjaya is so very ecstatic because he was able to see that form of Bhagavan which only is seeable upon attaining moksha. Very few people get to see that form which Krishna reveals to Arjuna, and in that process to Sanjaya, Sanjaya is so very thrilled. And he says, Tatya samshutya Rajan Rupam Adyatputam Harehe. Rupam Adyatputam Harehe. Therefore, what is important for us as we keep concluding the Gita, another very significant message in the concluding portions. The significant message to Sanjaya that we get is Bhagavan, the supreme reality, is not just some impersonal power or impersonal energy. The impersonal power, impersonal energy is an attribute of a supreme personal being. No, this we need to necessarily understand this. No, this whole conflict between personalism, impersonalism, form, formlessness is completely reconciled here, and he says both can exist together. In fact, Krishna himself says that supreme Divya Mangala Vigraha, that supreme form, is also the origin, the cause of this entire universe. Tatah padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuya tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yata pravrittihi prasuta purani. 2 points to note here. Tameva chadyam purusham prapadye. Surrender to that Adya Purusha, that supreme Purushottama. To surrender, you can only surrender to the Divyamangala Vigraha. And he also says, Yata pravrittihi prasuta purani. So the reality from which everything manifested and the reality to which we surrender are one and the same. So therefore, there needs to be no confusion whatsoever. And Sanjaya's final take home here is Rupam Adyatputam Harehe. Tatya samshut. So the message for us is how we keep constantly recalling not only the words of Gita, but also recalling Krishna's Divyamangala Vigraha all the time. When we install him within, Krishna needs to be installed in our hearts. We need to build an altar for him here. And in that altar, we can give him arati every time. We all are constantly seeking for something new, something fresh all the time. This is human nature. We don't settle for something old. No, anything which is old, anything which is stale, we cannot accept. But then, the world is like that, everything becomes stale. Nothing remains new, nothing remains fresh. What is fresh today is stale tomorrow. But we all know from our own experience that if someone is ever fresh, ever new, we can give 1,000 aratis a day to Krishna. Every arati will be as fresh as the previous one. Isn't it? So therefore, here Sanjaya, how do we purify our minds is only by installing that Adbhutam Harehe, that wondrous form of Bhagavan. That is why contemplation on Krishna means contemplation on Krishna's form. Only then the contemplation becomes blissful, loving. Otherwise, it's a very dry contemplation. Kasturi tilakam lalatapatale vakshastale kaustubam nasagre navamoktikam karatale venu kare kankanam sarvange harichandanam sulalitam muktecha kantavalim opastri pariveshtito vijayate gopala chudamanim. The moment we contemplate on this beautiful description of the Divyamangala Vigraha, every kind of pain in the world disappears, dissolves, and we are in a state of bliss. That contemplation on that beauty, that is the reason why our rishis have gone at length trying to capture at least a fraction of that infinite beauty, make it accessible to us. And Sanjaya here, towards the concluding portions, he brings in a very important word, Vismaya. Vismaya me mathorajan krishyamicha punah punaha. That delight happens again and again through Vismaya. Vismaya again is that awe, that wonder. We need to see Gita, we all know Gita as a journey from Vishada to Vijaya. It's a journey, V to V. But this journey from V to V, Vishada to Vijaya, can only be fulfilled if we add another V, Vismaya. It is that Vismaya which evokes that bhakti in us. Without Vismaya, this journey from V to V cannot be fulfilled. That is the reason why, last but one shloka of the Gita, Sanjaya is stressing on how to cultivate Vismaya in us. That awe for Krishna. It is bringing that, the two qualities of Bhagavan, his greatness and his sweetness together. And the more we relish this together, we are in Vismaya. Is it even possible for somebody so great to be so sweet? Is it even possible for somebody so sweet to be so great? Only he and he alone can bring both together. We are in Vismaya. No, aghatita ghatana samatya. So Sanjaya, therefore, concludes or is about to conclude saying how he is in that state from where he is unable to come out. But then he has a job on hand because Gita is over. The war is about to start. Krishna has given him only few minutes to make his conclusion. Because Arjuna is now ready to fight. Arjuna has picked up the Gandiva. Everybody is getting ready. So Sanjaya has to conclude. And therefore, he also gets set to make that final conclusion. The 700th shloka of the Gita. Now, for that conclusion, we need to wait for another week. We will celebrate the concluding shloka of the Gita, Sanjaya's last words. No, we have already celebrated Krishna's last words, Arjuna's last words. Sanjaya is going to bring both together and concludes with that one famous shloka all of us are aware. It's a very special shloka. Happens to be a concluding shloka for our 10 years of Gita as well. So we will see what Sanjaya has to say towards the end of the Gita. Until then, let us keep contemplating on Sanjaya's words. Tatya samshritya rupam adyatputam harehe. I request all of you to close your eyes for one moment. Let us all, as we prepare to conclude the Gita, let us close our eyes and slowly and steadily go to the deep, deep inside your heart. And as you traverse down deep inside to that center of tranquility, visualize Visualize the glorious Vishwarupa. Deep inside your heart is the entire universe. The entire universe, which is cosmic body of Krishna. Experience that radiance emanating all over from that center of your heart. Experience that light flowing through your body, radiating from your heart all over your body. Feel that radiance flowing through your body, energizing you. Experience that horripilations all over. And in all that radiance, that sparkle, visualize that divine Divyamangala Vigraha. Kiritinam Chakrahastam Ichchamitvam Drashtvaham Tataiva Enaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena. As per Arjuna's request, as Krishna reveals his forearm, Narayana form, visualize that form. And as you stay connected with that divine, beautiful form, experiencing that bliss, express your gratitude to Krishna, taking us all through 699 shlokas of the Gita and preparing us for that final conclusion. Express your gratitude for his constant guidance and repeated assurance of protection. And as you express your gratitude with the form, that beautiful form, totally intact in your mind, slowly and steadily come back to the outer world. Open your eyes.